Stay away from those who can't take responsibility for their actions or who get mad at you for being angry at them when they do you wrong. It's a very powerful statement, I must say. And it's something I stumbled across when looking for the thumbnail for today's video. And let me tell you what inspired today's video. I actually had a story lined up that I was going to do this afternoon, and I still am. But I got a comment in one of the videos that I've done in the last few days, basically about the woman who posed as a 14-year-old girl and called Childline to make false sexual allegations against a male colleague of hers, right? For whatever fucked up reason. Now, one of the comments I got, and this was from a woman, mind you, was that when she was at school, there was a female teacher who was going around banging all the footballers. Now, that in itself was completely unsurprising to me, because when I was at an all-boys school from years 9 to 11, I actually had a commerce teacher who I know firsthand was banging some of the footballers and banging some of the people from the rowing team, all big, strong, masculine men. And I understand why she might find them attractive, but you know, the point still remains that she was banging students. Now, what got me thinking about the age of forced accountability by women? Well, there was something that all of these things had in common, and one of the reasons why these teachers never got caught out. There was no evidence. Now, when it comes to the rule of law, the one thing that must be present is evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. Obviously, we've seen from things like Tommy Robinson and a bunch of other recent goings-on that that's not always the case these days, but back then, it most certainly was. And what's happened in the last 10 to 15 years that has changed the landscape of evidence and has created a forever continuing paper trail of facts? What is it that women married? Well, I can tell you what it is. They married this. Now, let's ponder on this for a second. How do women communicate with people mostly these days? Text, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Snapchat, all of these digital mediums, text, all of these live a trail of digital breadcrumbs. That's something that didn't exist when I had teachers at school. Right? Like I said, this is only sort of 10 years ago, let's call it 15, 20 years ago, right? Just it all slowly started just after I got out of school. The mobile phone. I was like, digital phones actually have a good purpose after all, even if it has ruined society. And we look at the common theme in all of these women who have got caught sleeping with their students. Text messages, photos, calls. Where is the evidence for all of those three things, text messages, calls, and photos? On the same device that made those text messages, that made those calls, that took those photos. So I think, particularly with the increased pressure by us men, right? And the increasing number of women coming out and saying, well, I'm not going to tolerate the behavior of other women who don't represent me, of these feminists, of these unaccountable bitches, right? And if it was men that weren't being held accountable, I'd call them fucking arseholes. So don't you try and zuck me on that, YouTube. I'm just calling a spade a spade. If you're a bitch, you're a bitch. If you're an arsehole, you're an arsehole. If you're a caring, understanding 90s type, you're a caring, understanding 90s type. I don't discriminate. So I think that particularly the next 10 years is going to be extremely interesting. We've just had Asia Argento caught up. One of the leaders of the Me Too movement has been caught out paying 380 grand in hush money to one of her past victims who was underage at the time. Right? Hypocrisy, right? Not that I expect anything less than double standards from high-profile women these days. Got Meryl Streep hanging around with Donald Trump. Asia Argento, another leader of the Me Too movement, championing it. Oh yeah, you go girls. Getting caught out fucking underage guys and then trying to pay them off so she doesn't have to take accountability for it. And you know, daddy's little princess syndrome, I think, has bred a lot of this. And what's interesting is that, you know, daddy's little princess never used to be held accountable because she's daddy's little princess. Oh, it's okay, sweetheart. You know, just don't do it again. But guess who's not around anymore? Thanks to feminism, thanks to this movement for women's live. And you know, I don't begrudge people having bodily autonomy, right? That's fine. You know, I'm on the fence about pro-choice or, you know, or anti-abortion. I'm on the fence about that, right? There's pros and cons of both of them. But what I do know is that one person should not have bodily autonomy that impacts someone else so deeply that it destroys their life. Allow me to elaborate. And I know a lot of women who are going to disagree with me here, but I know there's going to be a lot of women who do agree with me. And I don't need anyone's approval on this. This is just my opinion purely. Take it for what it is, an objective stance. So, if you are having a baby to keep a man that doesn't want to be in your life, then I don't think that your bodily autonomy deserves any credit, personally. I think that you should not be having that child, regardless of whether you do or don't believe in abortion. It's the wrong thing to do, period. And I personally think that if you have allowed yourself to become impregnated by deception by way of interfering with contraceptives or not taking contraceptives, that you have fraudulently misled someone into believing that you are utilizing properly and effectively, you also do not deserve bodily autonomy. Because you exercising bodily autonomy under such circumstances takes away from the bodily autonomy of a male human being that did not choose to be born with a penis attached to his body. Yeah, sure, you've got to bear the children, you've got to have the periods. Yeah, I know, I've heard it all before, right? I would be happy to hear you shut the fuck up about that if I could take over the periods, if I could take over the bearing of the child, right? At least then I wouldn't keep the child away from you for my own narcissistic means. And I know there's some single mothers that have, you know, gone through some difficult circumstances, and it wasn't a personal choice to have a child for narcissistic reasons and then restrict access of the father's child to them for other narcissistic reasons, right? I know that that's not all single mothers, right? So don't go saying, oh, you hate women, you hate single mothers. No, I don't. Okay, I've got a sister, I've got a mother of my own, right? I've got gay friends, I've got lesbian friends, I've got bi friends, I've got one of my best mates is from Sierra Leone. This guy is like super black, right? He's my man. Like, I love that guy so much. Maybe that's where I got some of my ebonics from that some of you guys have criticized in the past. But you know, this is the thing. I don't hate anyone. I hate the way that people treat people. I hate when people try to indoctrinate people with things that are clearly wrong and not for the greater good of society. I hate when people don't thumbs up my videos. Hint, hint. So and I know, and Janet, one of my female followers in the box right now, says, I've seen girls get pregnant just to get welfare because they're too lazy to work. That, personally, I feel, is also a scenario in which women should not be granted bodily autonomy on this issue, right? Having a baby is not a cash cow. It's a fucking child. It is a future adult and a future, hopefully, contributor to society. And having it for narcissistic financial gain is just so wrong, and it is completely beyond the realm of what I would consider to be reasonable and acceptable for any reasons whatsoever. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I think that it's gonna be very interesting. Hey, Tozzy! Sorry, that was a buddy of mine that just happened to. Man, you can't plan these live videos, can you? Shit just happens. Oh man, look at that sun. Oh my god. Let me get off the topic of my beard again. Sorry guys. So yeah, that's, look, I think I've made my point pretty effectively. I think we are entering into a new era where the new generation of women, by and large, more than not, are essentially addicted to their smartphone, to the point where every method of communication they have is on it. Like, they're not, most of them aren't even making calls anymore. They're texting. Like, they might have just robbed a bank and go, oh my god, I can't believe I just robbed a bank. What am I gonna do? Yeah, way to create a digital paper trail, moron. But you know, let these idiots, and that goes for both women and men who do this shit, let people that do the wrong thing and then create a paper trail willingly on their own personal devices, which is clearly linked back to them, let them make their own beds, let them lie in it. Alright? XYZ says, you're talking here on MGTOW's channels how to improve yourself, etc. And I was today on two girls' YouTube channels and they were talking how to take resources from guys. Exactly. And women have been trying to take resources from men, you know, on the whole, not always, but largely. It's largely, I believe, a neurological inclination as well as social inclination. And look, guys, you should know by now that most women, not all at all, I know some wonderful women, but most women are going to not take any accountability, are going to do anything for financial gain, and are going to always force other people to take responsibility for their own actions. Now, back to my thumbnail and back to what was I said, go check out my thumbnail. But basically the pretense is, don't tolerate people who will get mad at you for not accepting their bad behavior. Right? Classic narcissists is the people we're talking about here. So if you can follow these rules, right, and someone is exhibiting bad behavior and you call them out on it, or you're like, I'm not tolerating this, and then they get mad at you, get rid of them immediately. Those are the very people that you should be avoiding in your life. And that goes for guys too, not just girls, right? If you got any manginas or soy boys or, you know, sad to say, any guys that have been raised poorly by a single mum or had an absent father or had a father that did a shitty job and raised them like a mangina, it happens. Just don't have those people in your life, period. Be very deliberate. Well said, Magi Alpha 1. Right? And even though we've seen a big drop in crypto, I think, right, all the hype's over. All of the mum and dad, oh, I want to make quick money, are out of the market. We've got the serious investors in there now. And I think that it is going to still be the currency of the future. My personal opinion. Don't put your life savings into it in case I'm wrong. That's just my thoughts. I put a little bit into it, not heaps. Right? Maybe I should be putting more, or maybe I should be, going with my gut instinct. But it's hard to break those old habits of bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, right? Anyway, guys, I think that we are in for an interesting ride. I think that women are going to be held to task more and more and more and more and more often every day. Like the woman who got successfully sued by another woman for taking a 47-year-old mother of three's money that expected the Chad with multiple houses and more money and more education and all of this. Right? She got held to task. This teacher is being held to task. You've got all of these teachers sleeping with young students, although the media won't call it rape yet. I think that will happen in time, but they are being held to task and they are being reported on. We're seeing Asia Argento being held to the same, almost the same mob mentality that Weinstein was held to, right? She's being slaughtered in the news right now and being called out as a massive hypocrite for being one of the leaders of the Me Too movement, but then being one of the people that actually causes Me Too. Right? Oh God. Janet's just commented, what if it's your daughter? She is a narcissist. She is a 32-year-old narcissist. She lives with me finishing college and she is a single mum. I told her she could not live with me unless daddy sees the kids with no child support. Oh, you go, Janet. I wonder what her response was to that. I'm sure she didn't like it at all. And it's particularly with outside influences, with the media, with social media, with friends that have succumbed to it, with friends that are the children of narcissistic single mothers and occasionally narcissistic single fathers that are mirroring their behaviors. Like when you throw all these things together in a shitstorm soup, you're going to come out with a massive bowl full of fuckery. And I mean, I'm seeing it now, right? I'm seeing kids get to the age where they can articulate, right? The last 10 years has been the age of rampant, teenage pregnancy and single motherhood. And now we are starting to see these kids get to an age where they're saying, I don't want anything to do with my mother. I want to go live with my dad. I hate my mum. I don't want to be like my mum. I'm not gonna fall pregnant like she did. I can see the harm it did to me. I don't want to do the same to my kids. These kids have got YouTube. They've got access to balanced content, right? Here's the crazy thing, right? The kids from sort of 6 years old up to 12 years old are not buying into this leftist bullshit most of the time. They're not buying into it because it's not their lived experience. Right? They don't have a university professor that they're meant to trust teaching them this shit. They are learning through the school of hard knocks. They're learning through being abused as kids. They're learning through having a parent who is a self-serving narcissist that didn't change their nappies as a kid, that beat them, that lied to them about their father even when they knew the truth. One of my other subscribers got into a violent argument with her partner and was screaming at him, get that fuck out of my house. And I've said that quietly because I said that once before in a video and I screamed it. And apparently one of the people that was watching had his wife and kids around, so I don't want that to happen again. But she was screaming, get the fuck out of my house now. So he left. And then my subscriber came in, who's also a personal friend of mine, as a matter of fact, and said, what happened? And then the mother turned around, turned on her heels, and lied through her teeth. Oh, he just walked out on me. And my sub was like, in her head, she's like, nah, bitch. Like, I heard what you said. I know you just told him to leave. Like, you just lied to my face. Right? And also one of her best friends has a has a mother who was a single mother and then got a boyfriend, and the boyfriend is abusive towards the daughter, right? The stepdaughter. And the mother doesn't get rid of the boyfriend. She enables the boyfriend because it's codependency. And if you guys haven't learned about codependency, I strongly, strongly encourage you to go check out Paul Elam's video on codependency. It is a real eye-opener. And I will link it in the description after I finish this video. So, you know, we're seeing Sydney Watson. She's obviously a university student who's conservative and is seeing the hypocrisy in all of this. I think that, you know, the kids that are starting to go into university now, a lot of them are not buying into this feminist bullshit. They're not buying into this social justice mindset. They're not buying into this leftist cancer. Right? It's my view that leftism is cancer. I'm not making any statements. I'm not, you know, it's not hate speech. It's my personal view. Calm down, YouTube. So, yeah, I think it's a very, very, very interesting time to be alive. It's a very, very interesting scenario we have on our hands. But yeah, look, I think that colleges are going to start getting defunded, and I think gender studies are going to start getting banned. I think a lot of countries are going to start to follow Hungary's lead when they start to find that they need to cut back on areas of spending to try and stop themselves from spiraling into debt at warp speed, like what happened to America with the subprime mortgage crisis, like what happened to Greece when they went bankrupt, right? When governments start to look at areas they can cut back, they're going to start to look at areas that they're spending a fuckload on. And one of those areas is student loans. And what's one of the common factors for student loans not getting repaid? Well, that'd be people taking degrees that are not going to result in them getting repaid. So what do? You stop funding those degrees. What's the degree that doesn't create an economic output? Gender studies, gender and diversity studies. There we go. Exactly. And SAX says the gender primary safe schools should be banned. Now, interestingly, Safe Schools was a program that was developed by a gender studies lecturer at a state-funded university in Victoria, the most cuckolded state in Australia, in my view. And Miggy 101 will agree with me because he lives there and he knows. So Ros Ward was the they, them, zir, something that probably doesn't identify as male or female, who is a gender studies professor, gender studies lecturer at this state-funded university. So the state is funding the degree. They are funding the professors who are teaching this degree, and they are also funding the loans for people to go and study this degree that they're paying this teacher to teach. Just really incredible stuff. I mean, crazy. So, yeah, and all of this crazy Marxist. And I know the word Marxist gets bandied around a lot, but I mean, essentially, by my understanding, what Marxism is where people utilize the state to indoctrinate people into the state's way of thinking. That's exactly what's happening right now, right? By allowing this kind of bullshit in state-funded universities. So, what do you guys think? You know, and once this video is finished streaming live, I'd love to get your comments below, because I really think that Victoria is the example that of what not to do, of what not to follow. And I really think that, like, I was actually speaking to a parliamentary candidate last night on Facebook. I reached out to him and he actually replied to me, which was cool, and I had a conversation with him. And I was saying that I was giving him the racial studies and whiteness studies was a unit in, I can only assume, gender and diversity studies at Monash University in Australia. And Victorian state government is taking advice from La Trobe University, which is this government-funded university. They always go to the government-funded universities, never the privates, for anything social, right? I don't know, maybe it's because the people at the state-funded universities are already getting paid, so the state-funded universities are already getting paid so much that they don't need to get paid to give their advice on what they think should happen to the country. I don't know. I can't say that. But we know that Victoria is a leftist haven. You know, after they put the big concrete bricks to stop the Islamic truck attacks, a bunch of people went and drew the rainbows on it. You know, LGBT rainbows everywhere. It was just incredible. So I think we are seriously entering the age of accountability for women. Smartphones are their addiction and their undoing. And the rise of men standing up against this, the rise of women surprisingly standing up against these vile, feminist, SJW, indoctrinated, and malicious women who hate men for something that men haven't even done, but they just were taught they've done. I reckon we're in for an interesting time, guys. What about you? And, you know, the fact that dating agencies are almost exclusively women. They're run by women, and they are, the biggest clients are women. Barely any men. And the men that are in these dating agencies are almost always beta males that could not get a date without paying a dating agency to match them up with someone who's just as desperate as they are. That's what I think. And, you know, it seems to be playing out because these women who have spent $20-something thousand to find the man of their dreams with multiple residences, that's going to give them another child at the age of 47, that's got a similarly affluent or more affluent lifestyle than their own, meaning that the man spends more money on useless shit than the woman does. You know, the fact you've got women thinking they're going to find this Mr. Perfect at these dating agencies, and the women that own the dating agencies are enabling them. It's basically just all of these women funneling their money into the pocket of the woman at the top. Right? And which is basically what the government does with men's money. It funnels all of our money to single mothers, right? To relief programs. By the way, guys, if any of you live in Australia and if any of you know anyone who's in an abusive situation that they are wanting to leave but don't have the financial means to do so because for whatever reason the partner in the relationship is, you know, withholding the money, or, you know, they don't have, or spending it all so they can't get away, I want you to send me an email to sydneymgtow@gmail.com. And I also want, if you're been a member of the Commonwealth Bank for over 6 months, if you're in a bad domestic situation, they do actually provide some support, and I can provide you the link back to that. It's very, very good. It's not gendered. I have read it myself, and it does appear to be very, very balanced, and I think that everything will be done on merit, not on vagina or penis, which is great. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you do want to donate, head on over to PayPal, Patreon, or crypto. The link's in the description below. And it would really help me if you could smash the thumbs up on this video, as well as hit the subscribe button below, especially if you haven't already done it. And if you haven't yet hit the bell, or you're just hitting the subscribe button for the first time, hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you make sure you get all my daily notifications with these juicy little red pills, with all of these philosophical thoughts that I just pull out of my ass and think that men pull money out of their ass to spend on them. Thought I'd add that little bit at the end for a bit of a fun twist. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Peace.